Parshat Shoftim continues after Parshat Raphael with speaking about national mitzvot. It speaks about, first of all, the beginning, speaks about the national leadership. There's also the laws of warfare. All these, the mitzvot which are mentioned in Parshat Shoftim, they of a national character. One of the mitzvot which is written is the Isur of Hasagat Gvul. It says over there, Lo tasig gvul re'acha shegavlu rishonim benachalatcha, etc. It says that you should not move a boundary of your fellow, which the early ones marked out in your inheritance, that you shall inherit in the land that Hashem, your God, gives you to possess it. The simple, straightforward meaning of this pasuk is that there's an issur of theft. It's a unique type of theft, that a person moves the boundary of which demarcates where his neighbor's land is, and he shifts it that it should be, he should expand his own boundary, his own land. So this is a form of theft, and all the Rishonim say that when a person does that in Eretz Israel, so he transgresses two aveirot. First of all, the simple issur of gzeila, by moving a person's boundary and extending one's own boundary, so that's theft. But because it's done in Eretz Israel, so that's a second issur, a second prohibition, because it's interfering in the way that the land of Israel was allotted at the time of Yoshua and the early settlers, the first settlers in Eretz Israel. Each one had his portion. It belonged to certain people within the tribe, and when a person then steals in this way, so he's interfering with that allotment of the land in Eretz Israel. And there's a very interesting shita of the Gaonim, which I'd like to speak about, that when we speak about that you're not allowed to move a boundary, which the early ones marked out, we're not speaking about physical boundaries, we're speaking about spiritual boundaries. And what spiritual boundaries are we exactly talking about? I mean, the boundaries which are spiritual boundaries are usually defined as those boundaries and those exact directions where the Torah gives us. So what is this spiritual boundary that the Torah is now adding? And in the Gaonim, area of the Gaonim, they explained that the boundary is referring to minhagim. We've got spiritual boundaries that our ancestors, that they gave each group. And these boundaries, these spiritual boundaries, these minhagim, these customs, which were given to us by our fathers, they have to be maintained, and we're not allowed to move those boundaries which they bequeathed to us. So the whole source of being so careful to keep minhagim, according to the Gaonim, is rooted in our parasha when it says, Lo tasig gvul rishonim, gvul re'acha asher gavlu rishonim. And we all know that the Gemara in Masechet Pesachim, and in many places, speaks about how strict and severe it is to keep minhagim. In the Shulchan Aruch, it's also very well known that which the Ramah says that we are so obligated to keep our minhagim, each one, each person, each group, each sheidah, that one's not even allowed to change the nigunim. It's a very well-known Ramah. We're not allowed to even change the tunes which were given to us by our fathers, by the customs of our fathers, by those of the established Kehillah. And of course, before we carry on, of course, it goes without saying that we have to keep minhagim, and even when the minhagim are mepukrakim, as the Rishonim say, but there are categories of minhagim which are absolutely wrong, which are minhagei ta'ut, which is called in the halakha that we don't have to get. But by and large, any minhag which has got some sort of basis connected to something that the Chachamim said, or connected to the Torah, connected to psukim, these we adamantly have to keep. And the Gemara in Masechet Pesachim relates a story, also very well known, about a wealthy family, that the wealthy family took upon themselves, the founders of the family, they had a custom not to work on Fridays. They wanted to devote the whole of the Friday to preparations for Shabbat. And then the family fell on hard times, and the next generation, they weren't that wealthy. And they came to Rabbi Yochanan and they said, listen, we're not as wealthy as our parents. What we want to do is we want to work at least a little bit, half day on Friday, and we'll prepare the rest of the time. And Rabbi Yochanan said, no, you just have to grit your teeth. You have to bear with it, but what you have to do is, since that the custom that you inherited from your fathers was that not to work on Yom Shishi, because in an anticipation for the coming Shabbat, so that's what you have to do. I'd like to actually conclude that there's when we think of it, both 2 points. The one point is that we all know the famous midrash. The midrash says that what was one of the contributing factors in the Jewish people deserving to come out of Egypt at the time that they did. So it says that they were zocher to Geulah. Amongst the merits that they had was that they didn't change their clothing, they didn't change their names, they didn't change their language. Now, what are these? These aren't halachot. There's nowhere in the halacha that a person has to dress in a certain way. There's laws of tzniut. A person has to dress in a certain way which is modest. But that a person should specifically have a national dress, there's no such a halacha. There's that a person should have certain names. There's no halacha on names. There's certain things that a person should be called after Rashad, but all these are minhagim. So what the Midrash is saying, actually, the outset of the Jewish people, the way that we merited the Geulah was our steadfast attachment and observance of minhagim. Because we didn't change this, and we didn't change that, and we didn't change the other, so that was one of the merits that helped HaKadosh Baruch Hu were contributing factors to HaKadosh Baruch Hu taking us out of Egypt at that time. There's one last point, and the point is that there's a second source in the Gemara that we have to keep the importance of keeping minhagim. The Gemara quotes another pasuk from Mishlei, from Proverbs. It says, "Shma beni musar avicha v'al titosh torat imecha." A person has to hear, my child, Shlomo says, the discipline of your father, and do not forsake the teaching of your mother. And this pasuk tells us what the essence of a minhag is. See, the father teaches us that which is a formal. There's a formal education. The father has to teach Torah. He has to teach Piskei Halacha. He has to teach us how to perform the mitzvot. But then, what is the mother's tafkid? The mother, the educator, her function is how to translate what the father instructs, that it should be imbibed into the personality of the child. So, for example, we have to makabel every single day. When we say Shema, we have to think about how we're now accepting upon ourselves the yoke of heaven on us. Now, where does it come that we put our hands like this in front of our eyes? That's a minhag. That's the Torah Timecha. That's how the mother is teaching us that when we accept now, O Machot Shamayim, so you know what, we have to block out all those things which it gives us. This is the mother teaching us, the custom teaching us how to perform the mitzvah in such a way that it would be done in the best possible way. So this is what the greatness of the customs is. From this pasuk we learn that not to go beyond the boundaries. Everything that our parents, the various healers told us, that's what we have to stick to. We're not allowed to move it or shift it in any way. And then when it comes to what exactly is the purpose of the custom, so the custom is the mother, so to speak, Klal Yisrael, teaching us how to apply the formal mitzvot, that they should be imbibed and that to be incorporated, absorbed in our personalities in a way in which we'll be whole.